She started back with us last week. And if you think in customer service and the people who know things and the people who do that, it has one of the highest turnovers in any industry, and yet it's the most important thing you can do for your customers. We must move away from it being a low-valued position. And I think that similar to the way that UX and UI designers, I heard actually that in America, they now have agents because they're so powerful and they tell you what they will get paid. And I believe that in the next 5 or 10 years, we are going to see a massive shift in the relevance and the importance of our customer-facing employees. They definitely shouldn't be getting paid minimum wage, and you should be hiring them for their emotional intelligence. The great thing about happiness at work, sorry, my slides are all a little bit funny, so I'm going to have to click through these, is it makes your people more successful. So all the things that Henry was talking about earlier today that you can do when you have, this is awful, I really apologize. It always throws me. You're more productive, you're more helpful, you're better team players, you're better at service, you're more open, you're more likable, you're more motivated and engaged, and even better, happy people sell more. Hey, there we go. 37% more, actually. So if you have happy salespeople, and 37% is huge. If you do £1 million in sales or €1 million in sales, imagine having 30% more just from having a happy salesperson. It's very simple. And then it makes your organization more successful. So you have all of these benefits: absenteeism, turnover, conflict, employee brand, good PowerPoint skills. You're attracting more talent. I got a new PowerPoint presentation from my brand team. It doesn't like going between PowerPoint and Keynote. Customer loyalty, sales growth, profit, all those things. And the serve at profit chain is really simple. Happy employees give great service. Great service leads to happy customers. They're loyal and they spend more with you. So even actually, if your bottom line and the only thing you want to do is have more money, then the thing you should do is actually focus on the happiness of your employees. And Henry already showed the slide, so I've had to take it out of mine. I've literally had to rewrite my slides because I mostly quote Henry and Dom. So you guys are in good company. But they make more money. And that's been shown in studies all over the world. And actually in Europe, the studies have come out that it makes more impact to your bottom line in Europe than places like North America or Asia. It's something like a 10 times year-on-year growth for happy workplaces versus your FTSE 100. It's phenomenal. So how come we're not doing this already? And this is a question I have been asking for a very long time, because we all know it's the right thing to do. Maybe it's that 80% versus 8. Maybe we think we're doing a great job. Maybe there's a piece around we're only seeing 4% of the problem, so we're not solving them as leaders and managers. So before I tell you why I think we're getting it wrong, I'd like you to sit down and take a minute to just ask you, what is your organization doing right now? Just write off some things that you think are making your workplace happier. ball pits and workplaces and stuff. And that's the real reason why we're not getting it right, is the majority of companies are doing all the wrong things. So we're trying to do the right things, just like with customer service. We're giving people free fruit, fancy office designs, free breakfast, Christmas presents, and even to the point of bonuses and perks. So lots of things that we give people. You know, how many people left work and went, today I had a great day at work, I had 2 apples from the fruit bowl. It never happens, right? And fruit bowls are great. I like a fruit bowl, don't get me wrong. But they're not the things that cause us to be happy at work. And none of these things are. One of our colleagues, Alex, who I train with in Denmark, he said someone came up to him and went, I give my employees free smoothies every day and they are still not happy. Smoothies don't make you happy at work, unfortunately. They're really nice to drink, though. So why are we getting this wrong? And I think that it's really simple. It's just like losing weight or anything like that. It's really simple, but it's not easy. And this is not going to come up right, so I'm just going to click it through and then I'll talk you through it. Unfortunately, it should be beautiful. So there are 2 types of happiness that we have. And this is from Daniel Kahneman, the economist, who has the hybrid model of happiness. And that's experienced well-being and evaluated well-being. So evaluated well-being is down the bottom, and that's what you think about work. So when you objectively stop and think about how you feel at work, that's up here. And experienced well-being is how do you feel? So that's in your heart, not your head. And I had a great example, which was when you know you're happy at work when you whistle on the way to work and you whistle on the way home, right? That's something that happens naturally. And the problem is we're focusing on this bottom quadrant, the compensation, the perks, the benefits, the office design, the slides, and those are all fantastic things. You should definitely do them. But those have a huge impact on what you think about your workplace. And the primary thing that affects is your career choice. So by all means, do those things. That means you will attract new talent. That's the thing that gets people to you. Things like bonuses, compensation, and perks. So a raise makes people happy on average for about 2 weeks. It's hedonic adaptation. It's then your normal. And again, you should pay people appropriately, always. But the things that actually make people happy at work are in the top right-hand side, left-hand side for you. And that's your physical state. Are you well? Are you ill? Your life situation. If you're having a hard time at home, you're not going to be happy at work. But the 2 things that really make all the difference in our organizations are results and relationships. And that means, do I do good work? Does my work have meaning? Do I have all of the things I need to do great work? And am I doing that together with great people? Do I have excellent relationships with my colleagues? And do I have excellent relationships, most importantly, with my manager? And that's really where we're all getting it wrong. So it is simple, allowing you to do great work together with great people. Ooh, and again, that's not working. The one thing you have to be super duper careful of is if you remove any of those fantastic compensations and things, so you should not go home and do that. It has a huge negative impact on happiness at work. I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere where maybe they took away your free coffee and tea, and you go in 5 years later and people are still talking about that. We've all been there. And the impact, so even if actually what you want is job satisfaction, then the impact is much higher from happiness at work to job satisfaction than the other way around. And so of all the things that can make people happy at work, it's motivation and perception during the workday of making progress in meaningful work. So that's your results. Are you making progress? Do you have all the tools you need to do that? And then celebrating that success. So even celebrating a tiny win makes all the difference in how people feel and how they perform. And actually when you celebrate successes instead of focusing on failures, you should definitely celebrate your failures as well, then people are more motivated and they actually become more productive. And how many people here were managers again? Yeah. So So our relationship with our staff is the most important. So as humans, we have a negativity bias, and negative emotions are more contagious than positive emotions, and unfortunately, the manager's emotions are the most contagious. So actually 70% of how people feel at work is very much down to your relationship with your staff. And again, I think someone talked about earlier the statistics of people leaving bosses, not workplaces. And that's not everybody, but 70%. So our role is even more important, and we need to take this even more seriously. So how do we go ahead and create that happy workplace? Henry gave us some awesome tips. I'm going to give you a couple more. And my next step to you is I'd like you to write down the name of someone in your organization who you don't normally speak to, who either speaks directly to your customers or who is on your front line. And if you don't know their names, that's a really big problem. So I'd like you all to write down that person's name, and I'd like you to go back to work and go and speak to that person. I don't see anybody writing names. I really, really do want you to write down somebody's name.
Not very clear.
Write down somebody's name who works on the front line of your organization. So someone who speaks directly to your customers, preferably. And the point being, oh, that's better, isn't it? If you don't know their names, if you don't know the names of the people who work in your business, who speak to your customers every day, that's a big problem. And I'd like you to get out and get to know your people. So you can do that in 5 minutes a day. Disney has a great quote. And they say, great leaders do not allow themselves to become separated from the occurrences of the front line. And that means you're melting that iceberg completely. You are smushing that hierarchy. And then you can give those people the autonomy to make problems. So I've done a couple of workshops with companies where the people thought they were being stopped from doing something, and the senior manager they didn't want that to happen. But somehow, through the layers of communication, that's been broken down. So as a leader, if you know what's going on your front line, then you can remove those barriers. And then you can take 5 minutes a day. If you're really committed to doing this, schedule 5 minutes into your diary every day and go and speak to somebody new in your organization. It's quite easy for me. I do that as many days as I can because I have a small team. But I also like to then go and walk around the company and just have a chat with people. And you almost always will hear things. Gary Vaynerchuk has said this is the single most important question that leaders can ask people who work for them. And it's not what can I do for you to make your job easier, which is a great question too, but it's what can I do for you?